Hello friends, this is Dr. Kazmi. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk about an answer to a questions. I think a few days back, in response to one of my videos on the new modern COVID-19 vaccines, I was asked that if the Pfizer and AstraZeneca COVID vaccines are new technology, and the Chinese vaccine, which is known as a Sinovac vaccine, which is considered to be a more traditional vaccine. So does that make the Chinese vaccine, the Sinovac vaccine, its side effects more predictable as compared to these newer vaccines that we are talking about? So this was a question that was asked to me. So I will try to answer this question in today's this small video log. The answer whether the side effects of the Chinese vaccine would be more predictable, I would say like yes and no. I mean, it depends on which way you see this vaccine. I mean, vaccine side effects themselves are, you can divide them into two types of side effects. Number one is side effects caused by non-medicinal vaccine components like thimerosal or the different types of chemicals that are used to preserve that vaccine. And number two is the side effects caused by the vaccine target, which is there in the vaccine itself. Like in the olden days, there used to be some inactivated viral bacterial antigens or inactivated kills bacteria or attenuated version of the whole pathogen. And nowadays, it tends to be what we call as a more specific surface component of a pathogen in question, which can be a carbohydrate, it can be a lipid, it can be a protein, it can be anything. So in terms of the risk considered to be caused by the components, the preservative components of the vaccine, the Chinese vaccine, which is also known as a Sinovac vaccine, is using a more well-established, a more traditional platform, and its non-medicinal components are what I would call as a better known quantity in terms of adverse effects, if it's got any. On the other side, the AstraZeneca vaccine is based on the engineered chimpanzee adenovirus, and has got similar risk profile as any other vaccine. However, the messenger RNA vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna are introducing the messenger RNA, something that the body sees every single moment while we are alive. And it's encapsulated in some form of lipid stabilizer, which we call as a lipid nanoparticle, which is necessary because on its own, the mRNA is generally unstable and it's rapidly degraded. I would assume that whichever proprietary stabilizers are being used by Pfizer or by the Moderna pharmaceutical companies respectively, I think they've already undergone extensive safety profiling. So then when you look at the overall safety profile of a synthetically manufactured RNA and messenger RNA, which is encapsulated in what is likely to be an inert lipid stabilizer, I would think it's very hard to imagine that these vaccines are likely to be any riskier than other vaccines, even though the manufacturing and delivery platforms is quite novel. I'm not saying that there are not risks. Definitely there are risks, but only that it's likely that any of these adverse effects would have been caught already. Now, going on to risk caused by the virus target itself, which is from what we call as a payload itself, which is a portion of the spike protein, which is a protein that coats the entire surface of the novel coronavirus, and that needs to bind to a specific cellular receptor, which you call as ECE2 receptors. And it needs to bind to these receptors in order to enter human cells. Now, the reality is that the risk from injecting SARS-CoV-2 spike protein into human were not known and would not be known until various clinical trials that started this, I think this spring and summer are ended. And from that perspective, the various trial vaccines are basically using one form or other form of the same exact payload, that's the engineered viral RNA. Now, even Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are ultimately delivering a messenger RNA payload that, if once processed by the body, will generate the spike protein inside the person's body. Now, everyone is trying to block the interaction between spike and its receptor so that the window to get creative is very narrow here, and this is why most of the obvious this is the most obvious vaccine target. Now, if you are developing a COVID-2 SARS-CoV-2 vaccine, this is where you are starting. I mean, I would say if this part fails, then you should be considering targeting anything else, like the other protein components of the virus. And it so happens that the trial results so far seem to suggest that this was probably an excellent bet. So this component of the virus vaccine is an unknown quantity in terms of adverse side effects. And if it is going to generate an adverse reaction, you are likely to see it in several of the trial vaccines. I mean, luckily, we haven't seen any evidence of major risk from introducing spike proteins into the body of trial volunteers using the various vaccine delivery platforms till this date. So let's hope that holds in the long term as well. So we are still waiting for phase 3 trials of some of the vaccines. But the bottom line so far is that these vaccines are quite safe, they are quite effective, and there are no major side effects. I mean, forget about those like minor side effects which you could get in with any vaccine, like a bit of pain, swelling at the injection site, a bit of like mild febrile reactions that you can get with any vaccines. So keeping those things aside, there are no major adverse effects till this day. And I hope this holds in the long term as well. Thank you very much for watching this short video log. If you are seeing my video for the first time, please do subscribe to my channel. That really helps. And if you like the video, share it with your friends, like it, and also comment on the videos. Thank you very much and have a good day.